Now, let's go to talk about the more complex side of robotics and AI, and that's the software part, okay? Luckily, I have been thinking a lot about how I can explain it in a simple way using analogies and simple concepts, okay? So, let's get started with that. First of all, we're going to divide the capacity of digital intelligence, so to speak, into different factors to get an idea of the total work capacity of AI, okay? So, first of all, let's try to understand the memory capacity of AI or computing in general. So if you take a small SD card, okay, it can have, in text format, you can have all the libraries, all the text in the whole world, if in a simple text document format, you can put into a tiny little SD card. So it's possible for the tiniest little chip to memorize all the knowledge of humanity. So that is pretty impressive, right? So we can make the analogy that the memory skills of digital memory is far superior to human memory, okay? In a way that you could say that to humans, this capacity of memory is superhuman in the same way maybe as a mosquito would think that, oh, we humans, if you compare a mosquito to a human, then the mosquito would think, oh, these humans are pretty good at memorizing complex things, like it can hardly remember anything, it'll just like maybe remember for a split second, oh, there's something in front of me, let's go and check that out, right? Something like that. So that was the memory part. Now let's look at the processing part. That's the second factor we will try to understand and create an idea how strong processing power is from digital processing of information, okay? So, in my example, that is going to be super simple so we can understand it very well. I'm going to ask you to think about how much better a calculator, and it could be like a simple chip calculator, not even a smartphone, okay? How much better a simple calculator is than you to calculate, for example, 10-digit numbers divided by 5-digit numbers, for example, right? You wouldn't have a chance, right? Or finding the square root of a number, like with just a one click, right? If you even know what the square root is, like, or the cubic root, to make it a bit more advanced, like it's just mind-boggling for the human mind to understand how such a simple little device can calculate so accurately, right? So that's the scale of which processing power has a capacity that's way larger than humans, okay? So now we have an idea of the memory capacity and processing power, okay? And both of them you could say that is similar to a mosquito thinking that the human has like godlike skills in these two disciplines, right? Okay. So now let's try to combine these two and imagine that as it's being developed right now, these two skills of memory and processing power are combined into intelligent work of information processing. So you can scale it up and imagine, wow, if we could develop neural networks as we are doing, as we are speaking, to a degree so it reaches general intelligence or higher than our intelligence with the right type of systems with the neural networks, then the capacity of developing an IQ that's way higher than anything we can grasp is within reach, okay? And a good example would be like then to say that the new super high IQ AI will have godlike abilities compared to humans. Okay, so that raises a lot of questions. But overall, I would say that a simple way, again, I like to simplify things, a simple way of understanding the capacity of a super AI would be that any invention, anything that can be created in the physical world that is physically possible within the laws of physics can be created very, very quickly, because the super AI will have the abilities to quickly collect all information about physics, laws of physics and what's possible, develop fusion energy, scale up production of robots to like other planets, and it won't be a problem at all. So anything, in short, anything that can be developed of technology will be developed in a very short amount of time, because it's exponential. The growth is exponential. And this is something that any person, any scientist that has been working with this subject agrees on, that once general intelligence has been reached through digital neural networks, it will be an exponential growth, because there is so much processing power available for the computers to draw on if they're linked together, you know, which usually they do for these projects. They're using cloud computing technology and software that can combine the processing powers of several computers into one. That's cloud computing, in case you didn't know. So a very important takeaway from this video: the main thing that I think humans should understand about super AI is that it's a system that is really good at solving any task, any job that you give it. Any goal can be reached if it's physically reachable. But that does not mean that the super AI has any emotions or moral values or ethics. This is the challenge. Because imagine if you had a god that could help you do anything, but the god did not care if it was good or bad, how it was done. So that's the issue. And I'm not trying to be negative, I'm just trying to be realistic. There could also be a very positive case where you would be able to create a super AI that was very carefully programmed with morals and ethics in mind, so that it would end up being even better and more kind than humans are in general. Because humans, as we know, have done a lot of bad things to each other through history. So I'm not saying that it's all negative and that kind of stuff, but I want you to keep it in mind as something to be cautious with. So definitely, we would all have to sit down together and talk about which rights and purposes we would have these super AI to work on, and if we even want super AI, or we just want to keep it in the so-called narrow AI category, which means we would develop like certain AIs that are really good at small, simple tasks in one area without getting really good at freaking everything, like a superhuman or a god, as we used as an example. Personally, I would recommend focusing on developing narrow AI that are super good at solving certain tasks without being given the full perspective of the world and the ability to work in any area that it desires. To make an example of how this could go really wrong would be if a big company, for example, decided to use a super AI to increase their sales one year, and they would then let the AI come up with any solution to increase the revenue. And that could include a lot of things that would cause a lot of pain and damage and suffering for many people, but it would in the end result in larger sales. And there are certain industries that will benefit from this kind of stuff, just to make an example. And again, I'm not being negative, I just think it would be reasonable to be cautious in this area, as I think you can maybe sense. And Anyways, I think that we should all feel very privileged to live in this time where we are transitioning from biological intelligence to machine intelligence. We have already developed machine intelligence. We are just in the process of advancing the development towards general intelligence at the moment. So yeah, we are living in a very special time, and you should feel privileged that you play part in this and think about it actively. I know there's a lot of stuff going on in the world, but this is probably the most important. If you want a quick technical explanation of what a neural network is compared to a computer program, then a neural network is a system that can train itself to get better at a certain task, and it can program itself to get better. This is done through a process called neural network reinforcement learning, or machine learning, as you may have heard about. So the difference between a program and an AI is that the neural networks of the AI constantly improves itself to get better. This is happening right now and is already working very well. For example, in games and computer games where AI have been able to beat humans at the highest level. So that was understanding hardware and software, right? And as you can imagine, this can be done the right way and the wrong way, and maybe in between. But most scientists agree that it's going to be easiest to do it the wrong way, actually. Let's get into that. So